Good morning, everyone, and a happy Sunday. Welcome to another Thoth Tarot Sunday School. Let's see what our camera is showing there. Okay, we're talking about the small cards, and this morning we're going to at least talk about the 2, 3, and 4 of Wands. Now, if you recall from an earlier chapter, all the small card 2s, 3s, and 4s of each suit represent respectively the 3 decans or periods of 10 degrees of the cardinal signs of the zodiac. So all 2s, 3s, and 4s are the cardinal signs of the zodiac and represent the 30 degrees, each of the small cards representing 10 degrees of that 30-degree period. And wands, of course, are fire, so cardinal fire is Aries. So the 2, 3, and 4 of wands represent the 30 degrees of Aries. So there. We'll take things one step at a time. Okay, let's start with the 2 of Wands. A beautiful 2 of Wands. And as we can see, it's Aries. And it'll be the first 10 degrees of Aries. And the planet that's allotted to it is the Sun. So Sun in Aries. Oh, excuse me. Excuse me. That's not the Sun, that's Mars. Mars in Aries. Mars is very happy in Aries. Okay, 2 of Wands, Dominion. Mars in Aries. So the 2 represents 0 degrees to 10 degrees Aries, which is approximately March 21st through March 30th. So the solar part of the year, it's the first 10 degrees of the solar part of the year, first 10 degrees of spring. The original title is Lord of Dominion. The Golden Dawn model is a hand, appears from clouds and grasps 2 crossed wands. Flames appear where the wands meet. On the king scale, for Hokmah anyway, pure soft blue. And the 4 scales for Mars are scarlet, red, Venetian red, bright red, rayed azure or emerald. And the 4 color scales for Aries are scarlet, red, brilliant flame, glowing red. And our magic formula that represents, that defines a small card would be 2, which is Hokmah, of Wands, which is Atzilith, plus Mars in Aries. So the first part of the formula is its number, which gives us which sephira of the tree of life it is, and the suit gives us what world the card represents, a Kabbalistic world, and for the case of Wands, that's Atzilith, the highest world. And the third factor is the planet in the sign of the zodiac. So 2, Hokmah of Wands, Atzilith, plus Mars in Aries equals Dominion. Following the basic Mathers design, the 2 of Wands exhibits a textbook use of the color scale. The reds of Aries upon an explosive background of martial reds, azure, and emerald. The colors inform us in no uncertain terms that Mars is very happy in Aries, and Aries is very happy to play host to Mars. Crowley observes that this strong astrological marriage in Hokmah, where the elements first manifest, makes the Two of Wands, quote, fire in its best and highest form, and represents what he calls, quote, will in its most exalted form, ideal will, independent of any given object, unquote. The wands are demon-headed Tibetan dorjies. And there's the dorji tips. Like the thunderbolts of Zeus, the dorji represents the directed power of the gods and serves as the instrument of divine destruction that must of necessity precede the creative cycle. Quote, the virgin ovum must be broken in order to fertilize it, unquote. The 6 flames bursting behind the dorjies allude to the sun, which is exalted in Aries and very happy to be there. See chapter 20 for the general divinatory meanings of this card. So that's our Two of Wands. And that's the first 10 degrees of Aries. Now the second 10 degrees of Aries, and here we have our sun in Aries. Remember, in the order of the descending order of the planetary spheres off the tree of life, the sun, number 6, comes right after Mars, number 5. So our Two of Wands was Mars in Aries, so this will be Sun in Aries, and the second 10 degrees of Aries. Okay. Three of Wands, virtue. Sol in Aries, 10 degrees to 20 degrees Aries. That's March 31st through April 10th. The original title is Lord of Established Strength. The Golden Dawn model is a hand, as in the Two of Wands, appears from the clouds and grasps 3 wands in the center, 2 crossed and the 3rd upright. And that's just what Harris has given us there. The flames appear where the wands meet. The king scale of color for Binah, because Binah is number 3, is crimson. The 4 scales of color for Sol is orange, gold yellow, rich amber, amber, rayed red. And the 4 scales of color for Aries are scarlet, red, brilliant flame, and glowing red. The formula is 3, Binah, of wands, Atzilith, plus Sol in Aries, equal virtue. Graphically, this card is one of the simplest in the entire deck and holds closely to the Golden Dawn model. Harris skillfully uses each of the 10 color scales to present colors of scale to present the 3 gold and amber lotus wands trimmed in scarlet and set upon an orange background of brilliant flames. The effect is one not only of brilliance, but of immense heat. Okay. It's really hard to see, but even the trim that she uses is one of the correct color scales. It represents the primal solar energy that first penetrates the soil in spring to awaken seeds that have slumbered all winter. Along with the aces and twos, those are the other two cards representing the supernal triad on the Tree of Life, Crowley holds all threes in particular veneration. The aces are the unmanifest roots of their element and suit, and the twos represent the element and suit manifested as ideas. But with the threes, Crowley argues, quote, "The idea has become fertilized. The triangle has been formulated. In each case, the idea is of a certain stability which can never be upset, but from which a child can issue. In tarot, that child is the remaining small cards, the 4s through 10s. What a truly noble and well-aspected card this is. The sun in Aries, the sign of his exaltation, couldn't be happier. Furthermore, this harmonious and energetic marriage takes place in the third Sephirah, Binah, adding a sublime understanding to the mix. The great power and the will to use that power that we saw represented by the Two of Wands has now become fertilized and expressed in terms of the character, as virtue. Okay, so those are the cards with the ace and the 2 and the 3. Those represent the supernal triad on the Tree of Life of the Suit of Wands, or Atzilith. Now, all the other cards, starting with number 4, which we're going to talk about right now, are below the abyss, or in a manifested universe. So usually in a tarot reading, the ace or the 2 or the 3 of each of the suits represent cards that are more or less you're happy to see them. Even in the difficult suit of swords, the 3 of Swords, which is technically called Sorrow, is not really a bad card. Sorrow's kind of a poor word for it, and we'll talk about it a little later. But all the cards above the abyss are so transcendent that they more or less escape a hard and fast fortune-telling type divination. If the 4 of Swords, or the 3 of Swords, which is called Sorrow, it's more like the transcendent, very cool sorrow, like the sorrow of the Buddha. It's a revelatory, it's a wonderful sorrow rather than oh, I'm so bad. Okay. That being said, totally confused you by doing that, didn't I? Okay, finally, let's look at the 4 of Wands. And this is the last, or the final 10 degrees of Aries, and it represents the next planet in our descending order, Venus in Aries. And notice that it's a wheel. And if you recall that the 4th Sephirah on the Tree of Life is where the Hindus would say the gunas revolve. but maybe Lon will mention that here in a second. Okay. The Four of Wands. The Four of Wands, not the Four of Lawns. The Four of Lawns is called completion. Venus in Aries. 20 degrees of Aries to 30 degrees of Aries. Roughly that's April 11th to April 20th. The original title, The Lord of Perfected Work. The Golden Dawn model is two hands appear from clouds, right and left of the card, and clasp in the center with the grip of the First Order. Cool. They hold four wands or torches crossed. Flames appear where the wands meet. The King scale of color for Hesed, which is number 4 on the Tree of Life, is deep violet. The 4 scales for Venus would be emerald green, sky blue, early spring green, and bright rose or cerise, rayed pale green. And the 4 scales of color for Aries would be scarlet, red, brilliant flame, glowing red. The formula is 4, Hesed, of wands, Adzilith, plus Venus in Aries equals completion. The 4 of Lawns. As we learned in our discussion of Atu 10, Fortune, in the 4th Sephira, Hesed, in the 4th Sephira, Hesed, the gunas revolve. And so even though it is a total departure from the Golden Dawn model, Harris creates a rotating wheel by transforming our 4 wands into the 8 spokes of the wheel of completion. Each wand is balanced and perfectly complemented with a dove of Venus and a ram of Mars-ruled Aries. Okay, so each of those wands has a ram's head for Aries and a dove for Venus. Pretty cool, huh? Let's see. Crowley points out that, quote, indicates that one cannot establish one's work without tact and gentleness, unquote. Harris ignores the deep violet of Hesed and focuses upon the greens and reds of this planet and sign. Hesed is the 4th Sephira, but it is the first one below the abyss. Consequently, the 4s of the tarot represent the first solid manifestation of their suits. This is the classic characteristic of the demiurge, or demiurgos, a god who, as we learned in chapter 8, is, by all appearances, the first principle and creator of its universe, but who in reality is only the 4th principle and completely unaware of the 3 abstract principles or gods that preceded it. So, in the tarot, the 4s think they're the ace because they have no idea that there was an ace and a 2 and a 3 that came before them. Zeus, Ammon, Jupiter, Jove, and Jehovah are classic examples of the demiurge who thinks he is God, but who is really only the visible manifestation of the invisible primal forces that created him. Nevertheless, the demiurge brings order and rule of law to the universe, a characteristic that is shared by all the small card fours. And I think that's where we'll stop today. We'll pick up with the next cycle, the 5, 6, and 7s, which would represent the fixed signs of the zodiac, of their respective suits. That being said, I hope you sat through this, me falling apart, and 4 of lawns and all of that. Have a great Sunday. I know many of you are preparing some kind of altered Thanksgiving events, but please be extra careful and be mindful of the people around you during this time. We're going to stay really close to home and not mingle or do any family things this Thanksgiving, and we're happy to do it to keep our family and our neighbors safe. So please continue to keep that in mind and be good to yourself and good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will.